instead of a Bitcoin miner spending half of their budget on energy, you roll over to spending half of your budget on capital, right? You're buying capital and amortizing it. The price of your semiconductors is going to go up every generation forever, and cost of Bitcoin mining is going to go up. If the price goes up by a factor of 10, energy consumption might go up by a factor of 2 or 2.5 or 3. At some point, you start to think you will roll over, you'll peak. We might have already done it. Mm-hmm. You peak energy consumption and then you taper off, or it holds constant as the hash rate increases. And instead of a Bitcoin miner spending half of their budget on energy, you roll over to spending half of your budget on capital, right? You're buying capital and amortizing it. Yes. And pretty soon your variable cost on energy is 5% and 40% is capital equipment. And what you've got is not an energy war to see who controls the network. You've got a technology war to see who controls the network. And why is that good? Well, because energy is a raw material in the universe. But 7th generation SHA-256 miners are specialty equipment, right? Everybody on Earth can find some energy and throw it at the problem. But throwing the 11th generation of SHA-256 mining equipment at the problem is something that probably no one's going to be able to do unless they spent a decade or 2 decades engineering that equipment and thinking about it. So you have a specialization in the same way that John Deere tractors are specialized after 100 years. And, if you went back to a farmer in 1850 and you describe what a farmer in 2020 can do, right? It's like night and day.
Right.
That's what's going on with the network.
So,
I think it's self-healing, self-sealing, self-correcting, and the combination of the Darwinian and Adam Smith capitalist competition is critical advantage for Bitcoin versus, say, a proof of stake network.
Right.
Because in proof of stake network, you pretty much turn off energy competition, you turn off semiconductor competition and innovation, you turn off engineering and heat engineering innovation, you turn off capital financial competition, you turn off the political element, and that means that I can get fat, dumb, and happy. I can just post $1 billion worth of my tokens and go to sleep for a decade.
Right.
And no one's trying to make the network better. So it's not being tested. There's no stressing of it, right? And ultimately, the problem with that is you're going to suffer in integrity and durability. It's going up if there's a monopoly on the semiconductor chips, and then it's going down when someone else enters the market. And you're in our Intel chip, a 386 chip is pretty cheap now, right? So chip prices are coming down, but the next generation is going up. But again, it's a competitive thing. What's the price of semiconductors? Well, if there's only one provider and it's a monopoly, then you could say, well, the price of your semiconductors is going to go up every generation forever, and cost of Bitcoin mining is going to go up. But there isn't one semiconductor company. There's multiple. If there is one, we're back to Jeff Bezos' statement, your margin is my opportunity.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is an open market for mining, so anybody can engineer a SHA-256 chip. Anybody, there is no one type of Bitcoin miner. There are people slapping these things in the back of trucks and driving them around and plugging them into bootleg power lines, right? It's not very efficient.
Yeah.
There are people that slap 500 Bitcoin miners into a container and they just drop it on top of a pad. Does it work? Sure, it does. Is it properly heat engineered? No. Does it get hot? Very. What's the consequences of running hot? You have to turn off the mining equipment some of the time, so you lose efficiency, and they burn out, and their useful life is not 4 years, it's 3 years. It's 2 years, right? So So there's a competition here. And just like there's competition for energy, how will energy go up forever? No, I mean, energy could go to zero, right? If I invent coal fusion, at some point Bitmain is they raised their prices, and then everybody started talking to Intel. Like, you go to another semiconductor company and you say, well, look, Bitmain's tripled their prices, and now you can make this much, and now you draw somebody else into the space.
Yes.
So I think that there's a dynamic equilibrium between the engineering and the semiconductor and the energy, and the best capitalized companies, they can buy the new equipment. Like the publicly traded North American companies, they will go and buy all the new shiny equipment, and poorly capitalized companies will run the old equipment.